Come, Benavar. Friend or traitor, come. Dagoth Nate welcomes you, moon and star, to words about books where destiny is made. Together we shall speak for the law and the land. We shall honor our patrons, the Sixth House and the Tribe Unmourned. Yet I'm troubled. Last episode you spoke that Dagoth Nate was dead to you, sweet Benefar. How naive can you be? I'm a god! How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. Come, let us discuss Morrowind's inferior sequel's book, Oblivion, The Infernal City, by Greg Keyes. There's no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.
So, what do you have against the LGBT community? I'm just wondering why you decided to ruin Pride Month. I'm just trying to decide why you made it like just a series of the worst books you could possibly find.
Hey, the patrons voted for this one, Ben.
Well, okay. Yeah, the last time you said that. We're
honoring the patrons.
The last time you said that, the patrons
and the tribe
didn't
Unmourned
vote for it.
Well, the last time, the patrons kind of could have voted for it.
The patrons voted to let you pick.
Yeah. Hey, if this helps, this is going out in July. We're actually an episode ahead. So we're not ruining Pride Month with the Infernal City, Ben.
No, what goes out instead? Burn Notice.
Burn Notice.
I guess that wasn't as bad.
Because you didn't have to read it. That probably helped a lot. That probably went a long way.
Yeah, that did, because that would have been a rough month. I'm going to admit something. I tapped out on this one. I started reading this. I made it. It's not a long book. I made it halfway through part 1.
To this place where destiny is made. Why have you come unprepared?
Yeah, and I skimmed the rest just to confirm. It does not get better later. It does not.
You missed so much, Ben. If you're planning on reading the sequel book, which is the only reason that you would want to read this one. I don't even
think I did.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I don't think.
I think most of what happened.
So this didn't need to be 2 books.
About the author, I guess, Greg Keyes.
Yeah, I saw you read books of his. Yeah,
he wrote in the Yuzhan Vong cycle of Star Wars books. He wrote some of the New Jedi Order books, and they were fine. They were what I think we both would have expected from a book like this. It's not high art, but it's not awful, and it does the media tie-in thing, and he was capable of utilizing the characters well. I honestly don't think the problem is with Greg Keyes. I think the problem's with Bethesda. Because
I could see that.
The background to this is there are not a lot of media tie-in books for Bethesda games.
There are these 2.
There's this. I found a comic book that does something with Redguard. Or something.
That's like a mobile game.
And there's no like Fallout books. Fallout got a tabletop RPG that's kind of as close as it gets. There's no tabletop RPG for Elder Scrolls. They don't. There is.
Their unofficial Elder Scrolls role-playing game. That doesn't count. That's unofficial.
No, we're finding out that's unofficial. My point is, Bethesda does not do media tie-in stuff.
And there's probably a good reason for that.
And I would say this is going to be probably jointly a discussion of the story and what Elder Scrolls is and why the adaptation, I think, failed because I have to imagine Greg Keyes was just commissioned to write 2 books and then was not allowed to do anything of any consequence. Like he was not allowed to move any plot lines or anything forward.
Which is ridiculous because there's like a 200-year gap between Oblivion and Skyrim that you
well,
could.
and you can always just say it's non-canon. Nobody cares about these dumb tie-in books.
Yeah, who cares about the Elder Scrolls canon?
There's plenty of
It's.
like
I
the
feel
early
like
World
the
of
Elder
Warcraft
Scrolls
books.
canon just gets rewritten all the time anyway.
There's World of Warcraft, or there's Warcraft books that are written before the third game, before Warcraft 3 ever came out.
Oh my god.
And there's just elves.
I kind
And they
of
don't
want
talk
to
about
read that.
night elves and
I kind of want to read that now. I think you've opened up a Pandora's box here, Ben.
Yeah, but the difference I would say is maybe that Bethesda sort of prides itself on player choice. And so they create these.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. They create these like sandboxes. These that you can kind of make a bunch of choices. You could kill everybody if you want to kill everybody.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've made a bunch of characters essential, and it's bad, and I hate it, Ben. But yeah, no, you're right. In the superior Morrowind game, you could kill everybody.
So this all started because the Oblivion remake came out recently, and we were both playing the hell out of it.
Yeah,
And it bugged on me after bugging on me before, and it is dead to me now. And I'm not going back
I
3
played
hours in my save.
the final mission of the Thieves Guild, and I was like, wow, that was terrible. I thought
That's
that
what
was
bugged.
Yeah, it was.
I had to escape. The quest told me to escape, but I didn't get the thing. So I escaped without getting the thing, and then there was no way back in.
It didn't bug out on me, but I was like, oh, cool. I remember this back when I played it in like the senior year of high school or whatever, and I remember that was a lot of fun. You do a lot of stealth, and then like it's a crypt full of zombies and ghosts, and then another crypt, and then another crypt, and then another crypt, and I'm like, can I get to the stealth fun part? And then I got to the stealth part, and it was just so laughably easy. I completed the quest. I fell down the shaft without Spring-Heeled Jack's boots on and took like almost no damage, and was like,
Didn't even occur to me. I was level
I'm done.
36 by the time I tried it.
Yeah, I even took off all my cloaking shit that made me completely invisible because I was like, oh, I'll make this a true challenge, and then I just blew right through it like it was nothing, and I was like, okay, well, I'm done. That's the end for me. It's ruined. I ruined it. I should have never come back.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up. A lot of this stuff is. I mean, it was fun. Like I would certainly say I got my money's worth. But
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason Oblivion is not the one remade for every system. There's a reason that's Skyrim. I'm sorry it's not Morrowind, but
yeah,
I've also
Boromir would have brought me Morrowind, Ben.
Boromir would have remembered his father's need. But
yeah, it looks like nice. I put 69 hours into the Oblivion remastered.
That's the perfect time to quit.
Yeah.
No, I've also played Elder Scrolls Online. Didn't hate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hate for it, and
it's fine.
That was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. I don't think it's what
people wanted.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it was going to be Elder Scrolls 6, but with multiplayer. It's a MMO.
And I think part of the reason Elder Scrolls Online is still sufficiently popular. I mean,
yeah. I think when it first came out, I heard a lot of hate like that. And I'm like,
everything was supposed to kill WoW, and then nothing killed WoW. And
well, that's because most of them copied WoW. Nothing was that great leap forward.
Still hasn't been. It's still WoW. I don't know of an
Yeah.
MMO that has
Like, the
done
only
anything.
thing that I can think of that's any different is Eve Online, but like
You gotta
that looks like a
be
spreadsheet
you gotta
simulator.
be
Like
an addict to play Eve
you're
Online.
yeah, I've heard people had literal businesses that generated real money on Eve Online, and they basically had to sink the amount of time of a real second job into it. And
I've
I'm
heard of
nope,
people being
I'm
like
out.
called at work and like actually leaving because there was a raid or something on their property in
Yeah, they
Eve
have like
Online.
full on wars and like great. If that appeals to you, go nuts.
I
I
find
think
it
it's
scientifically interesting.
I think it's something that's so dense I could never properly get into it, and I would be afraid even if I did because I don't have that much time to spare as it is.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not looking to lose my family over a game right now. The point is, I'm familiar with the source material, which is in this case a video game. Um,
Yeah,
the video games, for anyone who hasn't played them, you can pretty much learn every skill. You can go to every place. You can pursue multiple
you got
storylines.
all the magic. You can be in the
Yeah,
thieves guild, the fighters guild, the mages guild, the assassin guild, and then also you're still the hero of the world because we still need you to be that. I know you murder the blood. I know you murder the innocents and drink their blood, but like we also need you to go fight Satan. So if you could do both, that would be.
to be fair, I think that jives with the real world to some extent.
And that's why Donald Trump should get a Nobel Peace
I was gonna
Prize.
say, like, we know our leaders are a bunch of blood drinking psychopaths, but we just keep electing incumbents. So, uh, yeah, I would say they strive for player choice and like freedom of play at the expense of a story that makes any logical sense.
Yeah, and a lot of times some of the little side stories are pretty not great, and
Yeah, like it's definitely scope, play style, open world. Like it's all of these things, and then if you remember to do it, story.
yeah, I never beat the main quest in Skyrim.
I platinum trophied Skyrim.
I believe I played that with 4 different characters, sunk tons of hours into each, and then I never beat the main story.
And I guess where I'm going with this is that works. They're
Yeah,
great
there's
games.
where's my book of an orc who two-handed murders everyone and then builds a house, Ben?
Probably somewhere in the lit RPG genre, I'd
There you
imagine.
go.
Um, again, where that sort of thing is like baked in.
Bookshops and bone dust, except a lot more violent, and then you're
Well,
building a house instead.
there are
It
literally.
appeals to the human desire to actually own a house.
I
Hold
would,
on, let me write this down.
yeah. Well, no, I would say like the isekai type genres have really taken this and run with it. Like, if you want to feel like you're playing an overpowered video game character and you want stories
That
about that,
time I got reincarnated in the same world as a guy who owned a house.
hey, that's how most homeowners these days did it. But I don't know. I find like having recently replayed Oblivion and then read and then skimmed a significant portion of this book, I realized like, yeah, this is a lot like the storyline in the game where there's like little bits and pieces here and there that I'm interested in, but they really have very little to do with
Yeah,
what
I mean, it would be cool to
with the
fight a
plot.
city of undead. I don't know about the let's walk around the Imperial City and listen to the politics of the Imperial capital.
Everything about the Argonians was really interesting. I like
Oh,
the whole
Dagoth
tree
Ur
thing.
would disagree.
Uh,
And then the Argonians, they had the gall to invade Morrowind after the Red Year, Ben. Like how mean can you be to invade a country of sentient people who are at their lowest point, and you're just kicking them while they're down? What what have they ever done to you? And don't say slavery, because I know that's where you always go.
I didn't know if you were making like a commentary on the Middle
No,
East or.
no, I'm making a commentary on the Argonians, Ben, and the
Okay.
war crimes they committed against their fellow Dunmer for no reason.
I don't think they're their fellow Mer.
No,
I,
they're
I think
not,
they're
because
their
they're
own
not
thing.
sentient, Ben. They're
What?
animals.
Okay. I mean, are we not?
No. Well, you might be.
I'm hairier than the typical elf. That's why I have to portray myself as Gandalf. Now imagine underneath that robe, Gandalf has very hairy shoulders.
Hot.
It's quite warm, especially in the heat dome.
Yes, I was gonna say, especially up there. Apparently, there's also a an air quality alert up there.
Yeah.
The heat dome and air quality. That's unfortunate.
There's still people outside running.
There's always going to be people outside running.
But yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I guess this just doesn't make a great book.
I almost considered instead proposing the compilation of every in-game book.
Some of them aren't bad. The
The
one about
Lusty Argonian made.
the Lusty Argonian maid is the only one anyone remembers, but
Yeah. House
I've said it
Halalu.
before. It really bothers me that the Argonians have breasts.
Yeah, that is a little strange.
It's going to be that kind of episode, people. But
yeah, why do they have?
because they just wanted to put a lizard head on the model. They didn't want to reskin. Like, they didn't want to do a special model just for the Argonian female, even though they could have just used the Argonian male and made it, like, I don't know, bigger, I guess, because they're reptiles, right? Like,
Yeah. But also, like, who cares? They're a bunch of weird tree people who come from trees and listen to trees, Ben.
you see, that's super interesting, though.
Yeah, I actually thought we were going to spend more time in Black Marsh, even though it's, kind of a shithole country. Am I right? Am I right? Let's build a wall around Black Marsh, Ben. Anyway, but then we didn't. Was the end of that story. We spent like a chapter in Black Marsh, and then uh, we get Gordon Ramsay, undead Gordon Ramsay.
So, yeah, I guess we should probably dive into this plot here, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I've got my notes, Ben.
Well, let me give the summary then, since I didn't read it.
Oh, perfect. Let's do it.
Okay. So
Okay.
there's Anaig,
Yeah,
who I'm going to call Anne,
that's good. I can live with that.
and the Argonian.
Yeah,
Never got his name.
you did what?
And
what? Mir Glim?
yeah, Mir
Or
Glim.
Mir Glim? I don't know. Glim. Anne is a Breton, Ben, which is what happens when elves back in the day started fucking the enslaved humans that they had.
I thought they were all originally one thing, elves and men. Weren't they all
No.
aliens?
No. I think elves were originally one thing, and they separated into a bunch of tribes.
Well, no, like elves, like they were all aliens or whatever, and then elves escaped or something, and then humans took the long way around. And
Humans. So the Nords come from a continent far to the north that was like destroyed or something. They settled in Skyrim, or they were shat out of the throat of the world. One of the two. There's two different myths around how they came. And then they genocided the snow elves just for fun, I guess, and also they were in the way.
I thought
But
the dwarves didn't help.
The dwarves are a species of myrrh.
Right, right. But I'm saying, like,
And
didn't they enslave and blind the snow elves
probably.
and turn them into Falmer?
Yeah, I think so. Because they did, yeah, they become the Falmer. And then the dwarves fought with the Chimer in Morrowind. And that's where Morrowind happens. They mess around with the heart of a dead god, Lorcan, and something happens during the final battle where every dwarf in existence except for one just disappears. No one knows where they went. They're just gone now. And then the Chimer, like their leaders, kill Nerevar, and then they use the power of that heart to become gods. And then
I don't remember asking about any of this.
that's okay. You're getting a lesson, Ben. And then Azura decides to punish them by turning all their skin black and their eyes red, as if that's something to be like ashamed
Oof,
of. Yeah.
oof.
So the Chimer became the Dunmer,
But
or
that's
Dark
non-canon.
Elves. And then the Red Guards came from a different. I think they call it a Kalpa, which is like the world ended and restarted anew, right, or whatever, and they just came from a different version of a different multiverse or a different universe. So there's that, Ben. Now you know. And anyway, yeah, we got a Breton girl named Anne and Mir Glim the Argonian. Ben, continue. You
Anne
got this.
Anne's an alchemist. She's okay at it.
Boy, is she.
Um, and Anne, she loves
Well, she levels
adventure.
up. She levels up her alchemy skill in real time, Ben.
She loves reading about adventure. She loves pretending to go on adventure. And
Boy, does she.
this may not surprise you. She's the child of wealth. Her father is some kind of high-ranking political official in what appears to be a colonial government.
Well,
And
they lost all their wealth too.
yeah,
Regained.
okay.
Yeah, because they were part of the colonial government, and then like
Seem to be doing better than most
reparations.
peasants. But
Yeah, but it's not about where you are; it's about where you've been.
there's a weird little adventure in the beginning where they're in a house and there's some people in the house and they're not supposed to be in the house, and then they leave the house. And then her
Yeah,
father, there's something coming. The tree is acting weird.
yeah. Tell us about this tree, Ben.
Um it's the histamine tree,
The histamine tree.
and all the Argonians have psychic allergies,
That
and
sounds pretty true.
they've gone rogue in some regard. Like I think
This tree maybe went rogue? Question
yeah,
mark? Unclear. I don't think that gets resolved this book.
yeah. There's something going on here with like
The hist is some sort of like giant tree organism that's psychic.
there's a genocide going on, but it's kind of off screen for a lot of the book, so I'm not really sure who's being genocided or how much. And the
The
trees
Argonians and not enough, Ben.
the tree is implicated. I don't understand this well enough to know what you have
I
against the
I
Argonians.
I actually nothing. I've just I've watched too many Dagoth videos. Ben, uh, there's so okay. I'm glad you also didn't understand because I was like, so it sounds like the tree wanted to let the city of the dead, this floating island thing, come in and harvest the the people, and it like puts them in a trance so they could be harvested and killed, but like only the ones the tree doesn't like, and then after the city is gone, it'll like repopulate with the Argonians it that aren't tainted by the Empire or some shit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it seemed like it was trying to go after specifically like all the Argonians who had assimilated culturally. It just doesn't like this outside influence.
I actually don't know anything about the Argonian culture.
No, it's not really mentioned in the games, even if you play an
No,
Argonian.
it's not really mentioned in the games except for in Morrowind when there are a bunch of slave Argonians.
Yeah. So anyway, um,
Which,
good good
explains why they
news.
attacked
Adventures
Morrowind. And
calling.
yeah, fuck
So
yeah.
there's a floating city.
She has the chance to just get away. She's on a
As
boat.
the floating city's coming this way. Her father's like, "I'm going to put you on a boat and send you away because there's um there's danger in that there floating city, and
There's
the
danger in that there floating city.
the Argonian Mirglim, he swims faster than a boat,
Yeah.
and he catches up to the boat and he frees her, and then he drags her back underwater
Why would the Argonians even need boats ever? I guess maybe to
to
transport
transport
freight,
large
but
things.
like,
Yeah. Oh, well, and also it seems like
as
there's a good reason to want to be like up out of the water because it's filled with sea monsters.
yeah, I guess that makes sense. I was gonna say, like, for military purposes, though, you just send a bunch of Argonians.
Well, I wondered is like the Argonians are just as good in salt water as they are in fresh water.
Hmm, good point. And the answer, I guess, is yes.
Why don't the Argonians like live underwater?
It would be a lot harder to enslave them,
It'd be pretty
or
hard to enslave anybody that could just disappear into a body of water forever.
especially if you lived in a place called Black Marsh, and like,
Yeah.
presumably you could just disappear. Yeah, they breathe underwater forever,
Hmm.
indefinitely. Now, I guess also in the game, so do I, because I just cast a spell and
Or
or
make
I
a
put
potion. There's a
or I put
million
on a
ways to do
ring. So
it. Yeah. So they swim back. There's a lot of sea monsters. They duck dodge the sea monsters. We didn't really need that chapter.
there is a lot of talk about sea monsters, and I wrote it down expecting a payoff.
Well, there isn't. So the flying city comes and they float on up to it with potions.
Yeah.
And
I think that someone says something like you can't fly with potions, and like, yeah, why did they take that away? Because you can't do that in Oblivion. But I had pants, just a pair of pants in Morrowind that could make me fly. They weren't even good looking pants, Ben. Why can't I fly in Oblivion?
they
In
didn't want
Skyrim,
to
they
implement
didn't
the
want to code that.
skybox. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
why can't they fly with
who?
some with a these guys? Why do they need a potion? Just make some pants.
Oh, they don't enchant. They don't have spells. They don't have weapons. None of the stuff.
It would have been nice if they had any of those things and were actually able to fight.
Yeah,
In
none
fact,
of
in fact, it's rare that I want more fights in a book, but this book could have used with more fights.
none of the gameplay elements except alchemy really
The
come.
best skill and most interesting to read about.
Yeah.
Alchemy. You put a little of this ingredient here, you put some salt there, you throw it in your omelet, and now you can heal yourself for 6 points. Alchemy is really easy, man. The ingredients just tell you what they do.
Well, then you get it to 100 and you only need one ingredient. So her alchemy is not at 100 somehow.
Now.
Um,
She does level up and get some perks throughout the story, but
so the heroes aren't really heroes. There's a prince. He is
he could be a hero, Ben. Tell us about him.
he's sidelined immediately. He receives the quest. He is called to stop the flying city by this girl, and he goes
She has
out.
like a magic bird or something. They could see and talk to each other.
She
Is
does
this a
not
real bird or a clockwork bird? I
not
couldn't.
explained. We're just supposed to
Okay.
know.
All right. I
Um,
didn't.
so she summons him, and he's like, "I'm going to go help because I must help every pretty woman." He's then betrayed immediately by a pretty woman. Uh,
All of his friends are slaughtered.
yeah, sold to somewhere.
He's gonna be
He
sold, Ben, but he is then saved by someone.
Yeah, he's saved by somebody, but then he I don't know. The point is he winds up traveling through Oblivion with a bunch of Khajiit. The Khajiit sacrifice themselves to get him out of Oblivion, and then he gets out
This
of
is Prince Atribus, Ben.
I don't think it matters. And then
It
he
totally matters.
gets out of
And don't forget
Oblivion.
Sewell, the dark elf who saved him, Ben.
Yep.
He's like the most important character, I think, and he gets like no time, and he's a side character in his own story,
So anyway, they get out of
just like
Oblivion,
Oblivion.
and then the book ends. But
Hey, that's
meanwhile,
not true. They also run into the main villain, and then they're talking, and then the book ends.
okay. So anyway, they get up
I'll
to the
tell you all about
floating.
it, Ben. I'll fill you in.
Yeah,
It'll
they
be
get up to
great.
the floating city, the Argonian and the Breton, and they have, as stated before, no practical skills to be doing what they're doing.
Well, here's what I'm thinking we'll do, Ben. Right? We're going to find out how factionalized this island is, and we're going to then weave ourselves into the factions and create a resistance and like turn the factions against each other, and we'll save the day.
Okay, so the island, near as I could tell,
I rolled a 2, and my charisma is -2.
okay, so it's a unnatural 0. I guess which is the only way to get a 0 in D&D.
An unnatural 0.
So a dirty 0. So they're there, and we find out that the island, it eats souls, it harvests a bunch of souls. Sometimes it incarnates the souls into bodies so that it can treat them as little soul robots.
But they have personalities still.
Yeah, no,
And,
the
and
hopes,
hopes and
dreams,
dreams, they
feelings,
feel
yeah,
pain.
yeah. It's hell.
Why did we incarnate creatures that need to breathe, and then like we need you to go
Didn't have one
underwater
that didn't need to breathe.
constantly?
Didn't know
No,
that was
there
a
you go.
thing. Now I do.
There you go.
No, I won't.
But wait, the guy who runs this island comes from this world. He should know about Argonians. He's from Morrowind. He probably had some Argonian slaves.
Forgot.
Whoops.
Forgot they could do that. They never demonstrated it. If he's like sitting there, he's like, oh, if they could do that, I don't know why they stuck around.
Yeah, why didn't they just run away and go hide in a body of water and never come out?
Yeah.
Shit.
But yeah, they didn't do that.
Why did we need slaves if we had all this powerful magic?
I don't know why anybody does anything in one of these high magic fantasy things. It's kind of the core problem I have with a lot of high magic fantasy when it comes to storytelling. Like, unless you're doing something kind of absurdist, like Legends and Lattes or sort of the stuff John Bierce does.
Sorcery.
Like where John Bierce, like the magic is like so ingrained in the society, and that's the point, I guess. And they don't.
John Bierce voted for this one.
Well, maybe I'm gonna guess he didn't know.
No, he read this book.
Did he really?
He said in a comment somewhere he read this book and he was interested in our response to
Well, then I think he knew.
it.
So
I was expecting a book, Ben. When I got a book, I was expecting one. You know, like with a beginning and a middle and an end.
You know, I'm gonna say referencing the new Jedi Order series of books. That's like 19 books or something.
That is it's a ridiculous amount of
And
books.
none of them is a complete story. But you're just kind of like, it's like a little comic book. You're just
I
turning
don't know,
through it.
Vector Prime, Ben. They at least had a satisfying ending, and they were like, and next book, it's gonna get even crazier. You saw how we threw a moon at Chewbacca?
Yeah, they can't do that every book.
You don't
They
know that.
I do.
Just moon after
Sadly,
moon after moon.
sadly I do because I read them all.
They're invading Coruscant with just a fleet of moons.
That's no moon. That's a floating city. So they're on the floating city, and it turns out we're gonna deal with the resistance again. Immediately betrayed, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he goes to become an underwater slave,
Yeah.
and she
Other
goes,
other slaves have to breathe in the vapors, and that makes it so now they breathe water but they can't breathe air, but it does wear off over time, so eventually you breathe air instead of water, and there's a transition period where you can't breathe either. And also there's a sea monster down there too, and there's a long thing about how he murders this sea monster, and then they're like, wow, I can't believe that the sea monster reacted like that. They're usually docile. You must have pissed him off by being Argonian or something. I don't know. I don't even know what an Argonian is. Everyone keeps saying that word. And then he's like, let's never talk about this again, and there will never be another sea monster.
mm. So anyway, that's not really what he does. Isn't really the point. Uh,
No, Ben, he finds out where the sky is.
okay.
You're closing your
Yeah,
Maybe
that
you
was a
should
real
start
mystery.
offering,
Uh,
start offering a video recording of your reactions.
so I'm going to tell you the trick to finding the sky. Okay, spit, and the direction the spit falls in, go the opposite. That's where the sky is.
He found the sky, Ben. That was
Um,
important. So they need to get off this island. Step 1, you need to find the sky. Step 2, you need to make a potion that allows you to fly. Both are equally as important, and he was a valued member of the team.
yeah. Okay. So he found the sky.
So yes, they were immediately betrayed, and
She
now
winds
she's
up in the kitchen,
in Hell's Kitchen. Yeah.
and she has to cook. And she has to cook weird meals for weird entities. And this is about the point where I messaged you and I said, I need you to tell me right now that this isn't the whole book.
I got some bad news for you.
Yeah, and that's when I decided I was going to skim the rest.
All right, so you need to cook soul essences for this guy, and this guy, he doesn't like boring food. It's got to be a new food every single time, and like you got to make it in a way where when he goes back over the food is a different type of taste or texture or something. And yeah, um you gotta
You need to like cut in some like fading Gordon Ramsay having existential crises at restaurants where they're just not getting it. And
all of you, come here! Yes, sir. All of you! Just touch that. Yeah, just touch it. Oh, wait. No! No! Look at the mess! Nothing's done! Look at me! It's all wrong! Cause it's together! I'm done.
So eventually she's in the kitchen. The
head
kitchens
chef
are pretty.
has an invisible knife, Ben,
Yeah, the head
that's
chef has an
attached to her
invisible knife.
wrist that she uses to kill people.
And then eventually the girl gets the invisible knife after
But
the
see,
kitchen
they're
wars.
immediately betrayed in a kitchen war. Sleer, the dark elf, but she's not a dark elf, but she looks like a dark elf. She betrays the entire kitchen to get Anne into this other kitchen. She's moving on up in the world. And all we had to do was murder the entire kitchen staff.
So anyway, she makes the potion and they fly away.
But
now they've become too attuned to the floating
Anne,
island.
Ben,
And when they try to fly away, they start disappearing, so they got to fly back.
And then the new head chef is like, I can take care of her if you want. And she's like, no. And then she gets poisoned because she gets betrayed like 4 or 5 times this book. And she never learns. And then he's like, I could kill her for you. And she's like, no.
We
And
didn't
that's the
come
end
here
of
to
the
kill
book.
people. That's why we're not armed.
But
Yeah.
now she has that knife, Ben. So who knows? Maybe she'll become the hero we need and deserve. You're missing a character, Ben.
The investigator. Yes.
I mentioned his name, and you're like, I don't know who that is.
When the investigator, when the prince goes missing, they hire somebody to investigate his disappearance.
No, he's a member of a sacred order of investigators working for the Imperial City, Ben.
Anyway, then he investigates that.
And he finds some sort of crime kingpin attached to some traitor, and then everyone dies, and he's like, oh my god. I wonder if this traitor was working alone or not? ? And we learned that the something to do with Umbra, the sword. I have no idea what that was. Like, I know it's a sword you can get in the game, and it's owned by, I think, Clavicus Vile, one of the Daedric princes of being just fucking lame. He's the fucking lame one with the dog. He sucks. Clavicus Vile sucks. And yeah, this guy is like, all right, Prince Atribus, you're trying to learn to become not a fucking loser. I need the Imperial City, so I need you to tell your dad to stand down so I can take it. No further bloodshed will happen, and then I won't be hunted by the Daedric Lord Clavicus Vile or whatever. And you gotta choose now. And then Soul is like, you shouldn't have told me that we were in Oblivion, bitch. And he summons a bunch of Daedra. And then they escape, and they're like, we'll see you next book. So this book is all set up and no payoff.
It was immensely enjoyable. However, one should not expect deep meanings or detailed characterological psychograms.
What?
It was just a plain action-ridden. I think
It
he
was
meant
not
riddled.
action-ridden. False.
I think he means riddled. That's not a thing people say. Action-ridden.
I riddled you with action.
Fantasy story packed with strange creatures, Manishian characters, dense landscapes.
What?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this guy's maybe just like a little bit of a pseudo-intellectual.
Dense landscapes.
Anyway,
Did you enjoy the part where he found the sky?
It's not easy to find the sky. Let me see. I'm just looking at some. I just want to know, like, because okay, maybe it's not for me. Let's find out who it's for. When I first picked up this book, I did not know what to expect. If someone knew nothing about the Elder Scrolls game,
did not know what to expect.
If someone who knew nothing about the Elder Scrolls game read this book, I think they would be a bit confused. Luckily, I do know the story of the game, and
even with knowing that,
and I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of the book, even though I am not big into reading.
Yeah, I can tell.
I had trouble putting this book down. It was so enjoyable.
I had trouble picking this back up.
The story development was excellent.
I was listening to other shit. I was listening to other podcasts. Like, I was struggling to put this on in the background while I played video games. Ben.
The character development was intriguing. The plot of the book was a bit far-fetched. But if you're looking, wait. If you're looking for a non-fiction fantasy adventure book, I highly recommend it.
I don't think you know what fiction is and non-fiction is. See, I struggled with that too when I was in elementary school. So I'll give them a pass.
Yeah. That's fair. We'll say that's just a mistake. while reading this book, you will not get bored. Oh, buddy. See, here's the thing I think about this guy. I think this guy actually just really likes reading, but he's never read anything but this.
Yeah.
Like, if he read something else, it'd blow his goddamn mind. But unfortunately, this is the only thing he's ever read, I guess. Wow, Greg Keys, what did I just finish reading here? That's not a positive review.
A masterpiece. My biggest problem with this book is that it was all set up and no payoff. That was also my problem with the Hand of Thrawn duology. The Specters of the Past or whatever was just all set up for the second book. And also there were way too many characters. There were like 11 POV characters in that thing. This one at least just has 3, although I don't think any of them are particularly important. I guess the Emperor's son is like the only one because of his place in society, I guess. Because I don't know what the investigator is doing or if he's even going to be important to this.
I can't imagine a part 2 to this that I care.
And that's why I'm going to read it and put it on the Patreon, Ben.
I don't know. I don't know why you want to.
I don't, Ben.
There's just, who cares?
There's not a lot there, Ben.
I guess
Ben, if I trim down this episode, we've been talking for less than an hour. This is going to be less than an hour. There's nothing to this book. It's 300 pages and like
okay.
Struggling.
So why do you think I guess this is what I want to talk to you about is as a big Elder Scrolls lore head. Do you think they could have made a better book? Why do you think this flopped so hard that they never tried anything like it ever again?
Yeah, let me see. The Infernal City release date. When did that come out? 2009. Holy shit, this came out 3.5 years after Oblivion the game did. That's weird.
The whole thing about this book's existence is weird.
Yeah, so I don't know why. Like, it in some ways it reminded me a bit of Heir to the Empire, but with a property that is a lot less well known and like I don't really care about. It was very like they don't know what they want to do. Clearly, it sounds like someone's like, "How about we need to involve the Daedra again."
Well, it sounds
How
like
about
they're
we have
afraid
like a
to do
city, a flying
anything.
city of the dead. How cool would that be? And then they're like, done. We don't know how to write characters because every one of our characters is just the player character. So let's have a bunch of people who aren't ready for an adventure go on an adventure. I don't know. I don't. Maybe this was like a humongous flop or something, and they're like, let's not waste more money on this. No one cares. But
I can't imagine this was super successful.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it was successful. Even I can't imagine it was like even like on the edge enough that they would give it another try and maybe try and flesh out the idea because they only made 2 books. It's this and the sequel, and then never again. And it's been what, 15 years, 16 years?
Do you think, like, how many people do you think really play Elder Scrolls for the story?
I think that,
like, I know there's big lore heads out there.
I think that that begins and ends with Morrowind.
there's interesting stuff in the periphery of these games. Like there's
Yeah,
interesting
this
things
was 2 years before Skyrim
well, maybe that's what they were trying to sort of like bridge the gap.
to bridge, but
Yeah.
but again, there's like 200 years between Oblivion and Skyrim, and I feel like you would need more books, maybe, and also to have them be like enjoyable to read.
But I just kind of go back to like it feels like his hands were tied.
I mean, I can agree with that.
Like he has
I
to
think
set it in a time period where you're not going to recognize any of the characters, and he has to
yeah, it's
make
after
it
the Empire's kind of
make it
broken apart,
about an event that doesn't matter.
and I wonder if this is even referenced in Skyrim. Hey, remember that time the floating city of the dead flew by?
I thought I read somewhere somebody said it was.
Ah,
I don't remember it myself.
I mean, they reference parts of Morrowind. Hey, remember that city you used to go to? It's a giant crater because a fucking moon crashed into it. Zelda style. It's gone now.
I feel like if you're going to do a novel like this, like you got to at least do the guilds or a guild or vampires
Yeah, or Satan.
like any of the
Mehrunes
story
Dagon.
hooks from the game. Like,
Or
guess-
you need to do something that's, I don't know. You can do something original, but
So
I wouldn't.
tell me, because I
wouldn't
skimmed.
tie it into the politics. You know, who the fuck cares about the politics of the Elder Scrolls?
Okay, so I skimmed. So you tell me, do they ever really cover like the floating city killing people?
They sure do harvest stuff,
But we
but I
never
don't think we
see any of it.
other than the initial harvesting of Lilimoth?
I guess
wherever
that's,
they were at the beginning of the.
it
I almost
feels,
called it game. At the beginning of
Yeah.
the story, Ben.
it feels like there's no stakes. I mean, I know the stakes are the fate of the entire world, but like at the same time,
Those are always terrible stakes, though.
it just feels like the world is empty.
It does. It feels like an Elder Scrolls game, Ben. You go to a town, there's like 4 people here. One of them has a name and will give you a quest. Everyone else is just kind of like gardener, herder. That guy doesn't talk to you. That guy just says something when you push the button to talk, but he doesn't go into a dialogue tree. It's got the depth of an Elder Scrolls game, and with none of the gameplay or the choice that comes with the Elder Scrolls.
I guess I'm interested. I'm interested in the people that like it because I
feel like they should have just zoomed way in and just focused on a small little area.
I guess I feel
Develop those characters.
like maybe this is fantasy for people who don't like fantasy. I don't know.
I don't get it, Ben. Do they not like all the fighting and action of fantasy?
Did you listen to the audiobook?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the squawking British man? You know what I mean, right? Like, am I way off base there?
It came to a point where I was at 1.7 times speed, and
Mehrunes Dagon.
No, Mehrunes Dagon, Ben. you pronounce his name correctly, like this British man did, Ben.
He did the Argonian well. But then the girl was just like this.
Oh yeah,
I'm so breathy and scared all the time. And then every other character is just I'm insane and weird.
Hey, they also had the Khajiit who spoke like the Khajiit, I guess. And they wanted that moon sugar, Ben. You need to go into this town and get me that moon sugar, Ben.
If the Khajiit
I
aren't a
am
problematic
willing to die for
stereotype,
you.
you're not doing them right.
Prince Atrebus is like, we used to think that Khajiit were just a different form of myrrh, but they're not. And also, they get fucked up on moon sugar all the time.
They're actually a bunch of drug peddling pseudo Romani characters. And they love money.
And they love to lick their own balls.
Yeah. You know.
I mean, if you can.
Judge
right?
not lest you be judged. That's what I always say. Onwards about books. Where I explicitly judge. Oh, Christ almighty. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Who can forget when Prince Atrebus was betrayed a second time? There's a lot of people getting betrayed here. And I get it. That stuff happens all the time in the game. But at least I, A, see it coming, and B, murder them as soon as they reveal themselves.
Well, you know, the thing is, they always say, like, this is true in, like, D&D or any kind
Why
of,
does
like...
the chef want to fuck Anne? He's some weird incorporeal, like, or corporeal being.
Based on everything I've heard about kitchens, that's just kind of what you do. Everybody gets with everybody in a kitchen. That's what everybody in a kitchen tells me.
I only know 2 people from kitchens, and I don't know anyone who would want to get with them.
I don't know, man.
Except for someone like 7 years younger than them.
Or maybe a weird soul stuffed in a body that doesn't quite fit.
Well, that's because the bones are too... They're extra dense bones, Ben. So the soul can't...
That's a joke no one's gonna get.
No. No one else is gonna get that, but I will. And when I'm editing this, I'll listen to that again. Be like, fuck yeah, got him. Got him again.
I'm looking at the recording time. I see we've made it to about 58 minutes.
And we're done. There's nothing else to do, Ben.
That's what I was gonna say. We could rubric.
Let's rubric.
That'll round it out.
Let's rubric. All right. blog.wordsaboutbooks.ninja. Big deep breath. All right. Content and ideas, Ben.
Hasn't been a 2?
I think. Hold on.
I'm close to a 1.
What did I give it? I think I gave it a 2.5, Ben. I'm
a generous 2.
I even put that I think that's generous to give it 2.5.
It's like he had a contract to write 2 books, and he was just
enough story for 1.
Yeah, and boy, is this not like a page over what is required to make a book.
Yeah, it's very unoriginal and incredibly underdeveloped.
And again, the author's not bad.
Nothing was developed.
That's what I was going to say. I can't go to like a 1, but where there's like no real story at all is a 1. There is story, but like I can't think of a single thing that is developed to any kind of satisfactory level.
I mean, if we had more development, this would be a longer recording. We would have more to say. We would not be grasping.
The world building all relies heavily on you having played the game. He didn't develop that. He doesn't explain it. The most he explains is the Argonian stuff, which is interesting, but it doesn't.
It's not really part of the plot.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
never
the thing.
Go back to the hiss.
if there's something interesting that happens, it just never goes anywhere. It's, I guess, stay tuned for book 2, but like, do I have to read 2 books then before I'm allowed to comment on it? Like, it's kind of your job to hook me, because first off, this, you could have put both books in one book. They're not that long.
And it's been what, 16 years? Just released the compilation book.
I doubt. Can you get this in print?
Release it as an ebook. You just copy and paste one at the end of the other, and you call it the compilation book.
Just put it on Kindle Unlimited.
I was annoyed that it was free on Audible for like a week, and I had just finished it. I was like, God damn.
I got it free.
I'm pretty pissed off that I missed that.
I looked at my credits and I was like, wait, I thought I got that. Oh, I didn't pay for that.
Organization, Ben, I gave it a 2.
2.
We jump around to a bunch of different perspectives. None of them all that engaging. None of them really advance the plot at anything but a snail's pace. And then when it looks like you're starting to advance the plot, see you next book. I have no idea if Colin is going to be important to the next book or not. He seems inconsequential.
The rubric is designed such that for the first 3 categories, it's almost impossible to get a 1.
It is very hard.
But I would love.
I think maybe Ernest Cline has gotten a 1 with his second book. I think that one was just not a book, and he knows it. Word choice, Ben.
It's fine. It's 3.
3?
It's fine.
Yeah, that's why I put it. It's fine, I guess. The rubric is designed also to almost always give you at least a 3 in word choice, unless you're especially egregious.
Yeah, I'm not.
Like Ernest Cline, who also got lower scores on the word choice. Personal preference, Ben.
1.
I put 2 only because 1 is absolutely hate it. Hate is too strong of a word for me. I nothing this. There is nothing to hate. It's just, it's air.
So I hated Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood because I just genuinely found it to be an offensive, problematic book that reaches all the wrong conclusions and is a bad message. This I hate because I dude, I read those UFO books and Bigfoot books, and like, I can listen to an idiot ramble. But this was just like, I mean, this is what I don't want to blame Greg Keyes too much, but like, that like soulless flavor that like Chat GPT stories have. Obviously this was in 2009. He didn't use Chat GPT. I'm not accusing him of anything like that, but it's so bland that it's just like, why did we bother?
Let's use this book to train a large language model.
That should protect jobs. The sad thing is, I'm sure it has been used to train a large language model.
Probably has.
But yeah, it's just like, I don't ever want more books like this. I hate it.
That's fair. Recommendation strength, Ben.
1.
I put 2, and I said I think a 2 is generous.
That's who enjoys it. A very niche audience that doesn't care about its flaws.
Very niche audience who doesn't care about its flaws.
They do. That audience does exist. You are correct. And I think a 2 is justified because of that. However, I will say I still wouldn't recommend it to them because I want them to want more.
Even Warcraft. Come on.
Warcraft, I want to
Diablo.
Make them better. Such as like, I've read, to give you an idea of like the video game books, I've read tons of the Warcraft books. I've read Diablo books. Somebody, I don't play Warhammer. Somebody tried to get me to read those once, but I understand people like those.
Very thick bones.
He did have thick bones.
Okay. How did I know? How did I know it was him?
Really, he didn't play it either. At least in the last time I checked in. I don't know. Maybe that's.
Hey, it's an investment.
No, it's not. It's the opposite of that.
It's an investment in my future, okay? Yeah.
Might as well invest in a used car. I don't know, dog.
40 points is what I gave it, Ben. I think you gave it far less.
2, 4, 15, 16, 17.
You should give it 1 star on Goodreads then. You gave it 2. 17 points out of 100 is a 1-star rating, dude.
Wait, did I calculate it wrong? No, I calculated it wrong. It's 6, 12, 23, 24, 25.
25. That's still a 1 star.
That
25 out of 100.
That is exactly 1 out of 5, isn't it?
Yeah. That is
20 out of 100 is 1 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, but the average is 55 points, so the middle is actually a little higher up. Because 25 out of 100, that's 1 and 4, but like.
Okay, I'll give it 1.
Yeah.
I'm not changing my rubric.
Yeah. 1 star. I gave it 2. I think 2 is very generous.
Yeah. But if you want me to blow my credibility, I'll tell you, I just watched K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, and I found it to be delightful.
I could go for a cake pop.
Cue the music.
Dagoth will now shout out the words about books Yacht Plan patrons, as is our custom. First up, Dagoth Shy with a Y over on TikTok. That is where Dagoth went after the battle at Red Mountain in order to become a spicy meme. Next we have Dagoth Keegan. Keegan hasn't given Dagoth a project to shout out, and that is why he is enlightened above all others. Dagoth Isekai Sensei Sama. From that time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster podcast. Dagoth has also been reincarnated, so I can empathize with your plight. Dagoth John Bierce, a real author. Check out The Rack, The Mage Errant, and The City That Would Eat the World. Especially The Rack. Dagoth loves him some of that book. Last but not least, we have Dagoth James, the Gravy Man. Mixing gravy and corpus blight is an odd choice, but I'm going to allow it. You can check him out at ifyouwantthegravy.wordpress.com, where he will definitely be reading the sequel book to this one and reviewing it for all you lovely listeners. He had better. Come, Benavar, friend or traitor, come. Dagoth Nate welcomes you, moon and star, to Words About Books, where destiny is made. Together we shall speak for the law and the land. We shall honor our patrons, the 6th House, and the tribe unmourned. Yet, I am troubled. Last episode you spoke that Dagoth Nate was dead to you, sweet Benavar. What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? Come, let us discuss Morrowind's inferior sequels book, Oblivion, The Infernal City by Greg Keyes. There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. Come, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy.
Okay, yeah, that's the perfect end to this season.
This season. See you next year.
Yep. Taking 6 months off.